We don't need this. We had enough of this kishmak already. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Fine. Okay. So
Rabbi Stein, how many angry text messages, phone calls, and tweets did you get about the tweet today?
no, actually, no, a couple, not so many.
By the way, Shkoyach, I always thought that
wasn't
was
as bad.
true. I always thought that was true. I wasn't sure where I heard it from.
Yeah, that's yeah. That's,
Somebody actually told
that
me.
seems to be the pashtus. If the Mishnah Berurah is mashma like that, he doesn't say it straight out. But yeah, what are you saying?
Somebody actually told me it's better that you
somebody
use,
what?
somebody actually, I forgot, he repeated it from a Rav. I forgot what he said. He said basically it's better to use, water and soap than to just use a cup without soap.
I hear that.
Because
nowadays,
a lot of times,
that's for sure.
Right. But his point is like a lot of people, they'll just use the cup and then they won't ever actually wash their hands with soap,
So to take that
So
one
Rabbi,
step, take that one step further in the Bizman Azeh, is hand sanitizer in place of water in the sink.
I would think it depends on how liquidy it is. If it makes liquid on the whole hand, I would think that it's okay. No, that's what I would think.
That's a lot of.
I mean, you're supposed to wash your whole hand.
So, but if
That's
you
a lot of hands. I'm saying.
But once you start rubbing it in and it goes all over the hand, is that considered like washing it?
Yeshua, you don't have to sell your
think
shirt
so.
to get money for Negelbas and to buy a Negelbas a cup. That's what I took
I
out.
sold my
That's
shirt,
what
Aaron.
you don't need to
Depends on
sell
the
your shirt. You don't need to sell your shirt to get a
I'm coming
Negelbas
after your
cup.
bathrobe. I need it.
It depends on the company. Some hand sanitizers are very liquidy.
Yeah. A guy told me, so Rav left a message because he saw the chat. He said Rav Hillel David told him that Rav Moshe Feinstein once came to visit Ner Yisrael, and Rav Hillel David saw him coming out of the bathroom, and his hands were wet, and he said, "Don't worry about it. You don't. As long as your hands are still wet when you're out of the bathroom, then you can wash your hands in the bathroom, and it's not an issue." Which there are pesukim, obviously Rav Moshe held like that say that's you can. Even as long as the hands are still wet when you come out of the bathroom, so then that gets rid of whatever heebie-jeebies tumah there is on the hands. Yeah.
I never understood that.
So,
What's shot in that? Why do they need to be? Why can't you just wash your hands in the bathroom?
No, because the ruach ra that's in the bathroom.
If I walk into a bathroom, I'm chayiv to nifus yadayim?
Yes. Me'ikar adin, yes. Yeah.
Anytime. Doesn't matter what for.
We
discussed this last night.
Correct, yeah.
Last night. You go in to get a tissue.
This was in the kitzur shir.
You go in to get a tissue.
Yeah.
You gotta wash your hands.
Right. There's a shaila nowadays. A lot of pesukim say that now our bathrooms are different because everything gets flushed away. But me'ikar adin, yes,
that's what I meant.
Go into a bathroom, you have to wash your hands. Yeah. But me'ikar adin, you do need to. So the chazan yesterday. So we talked about Tumah, the Truma becoming tummy, and we talked about with the cake, what are you talking about? You had the porridge with the spices that were mixed in together. So you touched part of it. So we wanted to learn out from that the only way it becomes usher is when you have enough Truma mixed in that you would eat a kezayis worth of shir kedei achilas pras, right? Which one thing we forgot to mention, Taka, drinking a tea. What's the shir kedei achilas pras? Drinking coffee and tea. Or of course, we can't pass up without passing the shot. We discussed it with the drinking of schnapps, right? If the shir of schnapps is much smaller, right? So do you make kiddush on a schnapps glass, right? So all those type of things. And we said,
I think it would be happy if it was the same.
What?
I think it would be happy if the schnapps year we had to drink more. Meaning, I don't want to make it less. I want keep it the same.
That's true.
Well, we said that already. That's the sansa to what's his name?
Who was it? It's all based on the Taz.
The Rupshitzer, sansa to the Rupshitzer. Either you
The
make
rupture
kiddush like a guy or you'll drink like a guy. That was.
Oh, I thought you were saying something else.
Sanders the rupture.
That's very good. So anyway, so that's Tali, and that's what we said. Kuta Chabavli is not meant to be eaten fast. That's why Kuta Chabavli, the Chacham can disagree and say it's not a problem on Pesach because there's no way you're going to be able to eat a kizayas worth of chametz, at least midaraisa on Pesach, right? Yeah. We got a shtickle besmerish going here, so it's gonna be a little. It could be a little less. Sorry, quarantine besmerish. Yeah. Fine. Then we had shilas and kedei achilas pras from the two buckets, a bucket of truma and a bucket of chulin that are falling into two other buckets. So we wanted to bring a raya from that the kedei achilas pras, that you would for sure eat some of the truma kedei achilas pras. Now mebeis mishras, what we need mishras for, and then how do you learn that tam ke'ikr, which is what we're going to finish off the sugya tonight, whether we say tam ke'ikr is a daraisa or not. And we said basa b'chalav is considered a chiddush. And some say that kashering is not kashering is considered a chiddush. Fine. So that's what we're up to on the bottom of Mendal and base. Yeah. So Amalei Ravacha Breder of about 6 lines up from the bottom. Yeah. So Amalei Ravacha Breder of Avi Ravashi. Yeah. With the Rabanan, and the first Amud tonight is not so. It's not so much halacha l'maisa. Amud Beis is packed. Amud Beis is mamish packed with halacha l'maisa for Hilchos Pesach. Okay, so Amalei Ravacha Breder Rav Avi Ravashi with the Rabanan Nishma Rabbi Kiva. From the Rabanan, we should be able to learn out Rabbi Kiva. Mila Emor Rabanan Mishras. Didn't we the Rabanan learn out from Mishras? Which again, Mishras. What do you call it? Infused, right? Infused. Yeah. Right, mishras, where the grapes infuses water, and then the nazir is not allowed to have it, right?
It's either that or confused. Infused or confused, I remember.
Confused is a default. Confused is a default, doctor. That's for sure, right? So, it's in water that's infused with grapes, so the nazir is not allowed to have it. So we learn out from that the Rabbanan learn out from that the tam is ke'ikr, that you see, even though it's just taste, it's considered like an ikr, and therefore the nazir is not allowed to have it. So mekan atadan l'chol isurin shebetorah. Right, from here we learn out to all Shon Shabbat Torah. Right, we learn out that Tam Ke'ikr for every Issur in the Torah. So why can't we say the same thing with Rabbi Kiva? Rabbi Kiva Nami Mishras leheter mitzdarf le'Issur. Right, Rabbi Kiva learns out Mishras to tell you that heter is mitzdarf le'Issur. Like if you have a cholent with barley on Pesach, then we're going to say that even if you don't have a full amount of barley, we're going to use the heter combined with the barley to say that it's asur. Why can't he learn out from Mishras to the rest of the Torah? Right, just like the Rabbanan learn out Mishras to the rest of the Torah, so let Rabbi Kiva also. Rabbi Kiva nami Mishras lehetem etzarf l'Issur and mikanat adan l'chol Issur Shabbat Torah kula. Yeah.
If you say this, how do you have anything else? How do you have batel b'shishim or roiv or anything? It's all Mishras knocks off everything in the world. What?
No, because if it's batel b'shishim, then it's not. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't. It's as if it's not. It's
not
as if
you
it
have a strong flavor. If you have a chveis.
Now you're already asking a loaded question. Is it possible to have shishim and still have taste? Right? Or if it's something's batel b'shishim and you still taste it, right? Let's say you have one of those highly sensitive, one of those guys that can actually smell the aromas in the wine, okay? Because I'm not one of those, right? So one of those guys. So maybe taka for him, there wouldn't be a batel b'shishim, but for the hamoinam, if something's batel b'shishim, it should not.
You lost your sense of smell, Yaakov? That's not a good thing.
No, Baruch Hashem, I'm smelling good and fine, parrots. Should we continue that way? Yeah, fine. So anyway, so that's the Gemara's kasha, that Rabbi Kiva should also learn out the rest of the Torah, right? And Rabbi Kiva only says it by heter mitzdarf l'Issur. He said it's dafka by nazir, not by the rest of the Torah, right? So why can't Rabbi Kiva learn out to the rest of the Torah? Amar lei. So we went back on Amud Aleph. Amar lei mishum david nazir v'chata shnei ksuvin abayin ke'echad, because we have a pasuk by nazir, which we already learned, Mishras, that tells you that heter mitzdarf l'Issur. And then you have chatos, also tells you heter mitzdarf l'Issur. It's shnei ksuvin abayin ke'echad ve'ein melamdin. So it's shnei ksuvin abayin ke'echad, and you can't learn it out. Nazir hadamara, nazir, like we said, from Mishras. Chatos maihi. What's chatos? Is my son's voice bothering? Can you hear, or should I try and move? It's good.
No, it sounds fine.
Can you hear? Okay, fine. Thank you. So, Yeah, so nazir hodamar chatos mahi. What's chatos? The tanya kolasha yiga b'psara yiktosh. Anything that touches the basar will become holy. Meaning, if you have regular meat that touches kosher meat, that regular meat by touching is going to get the taste of it, and it's going to get the kedusha. Yachal afilu loy bala. You would think that even if it's not, it doesn't absorb, right, from the chatos. Tamalar b'psara yiktosh ad sheyilva b'basar yiktosh. Until it actually absorbs with the basar, then yiktosh liyos kamayim, then it will become kaddish. So whatever it is, you see that it's gonna, if it absorbs, then it takes the status of the chatas. She'im psulahi tipasel. If the carbon chatas becomes pasel, then this piece of meat becomes pasel. Vim ksheri, and if it's kosher, taychol kechavar sheba, then you're gonna eat it like the whatever chumras that are in it. Meaning, so if you by mistake had a carbon chatas meat. Actually, it's a kohen, right? He has a carbon chatas meat in his kitchen, and then by mistake it touches his barbecue meat, and so if it sits on there and absorbs a little bit, then it's going to become the same status as the chatas. And then if the carbon chatas meat becomes pasul for whatever reason, then the other meat's also going to become pasul, even though it was chulin. And if it's kosher, then it gets the chumras. So you see. So what do you see from that? So you see that it's heter mitzdaref le'Issur, right?
Is it
because you're combining the heter together with the chumrah. Yeah, what are you saying?
Is it mutter to cook in water basar chatas?
I have no idea. I have no why. What basar chatas? The chelik that goes to the kohen?
It has to be roasted, no? The whole chatas.
Does it?
Does it? Wasn't that what Eli, Chafni, and Pinchas got punished for?
Chafni and Pinchas, I thought they burnt it for no reason.
Yeah. And they used the wrong fork. They used it has to be roasted. It has to be sleep.
I don't remember. I don't know.
How do you have blias?
So I understood it that it just sat on there. It really is not blias the way we define blias. Unless they roast it. Well, first of all, who said they couldn't roast it together? I just thought that it just sits there and it would.
It's not real. To take the klipa off.
Yeah, okay, but I thought there's a special din with this. I mean, it has to be hot. You're right. It has to be hot. It has to be hot. How else? Yeah, so it has to be hot. I mean, you're going to start with the tall gover, liloy gover, and all that stuff. It has to be hot.
Even without that, it's still sleep. It's still a klipa.
Okay, so that's enough.
All we're dealing with is a klipa here. So take the klipa off and either like cuts and fine.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. L'chayra. But anyway, so what's the raya from this?
We don't want clippers over here. We don't even want to talk about them.
Okay. So anyway, so you eat it. So how do you know heter mitzdaref le'Issur? Because once the chatas goes into the kosher, so then it's absorbing some of the chatas of it, and if you eat from the mutter meat, so we're going to say that it's a combination of what's usur and the heter meat together to make it that you can be over on the Issur. Whatever it is, the point is that we see that there's a pasuk by chatas of heter mitzdaref le'Issur. So we know that the rule is shnei ksuv and avoyin ke'echad. You can't learn anything out. What's the pshat? Why can't you learn anything out? Because if the Torah wants to give us one pasuk to learn out, and then we can learn out from there. So say it in one place in the Torah, and then I can learn it out from there to everything else. But if you say it in two pesukim, that means that the Torah felt a need to write it in two different parshias. So memela, it can't be that you learn from one to everything else. Otherwise, just stay in one parsha, learn it out for all Torah. So this said it says it in two. Therefore, this sheet holds that you can't learn anything out from that, because otherwise the Torah could have just written it in one, and we could have learned everything out from that one. So by saying two, it doesn't work. Okay.
When I know I'm asking us drushes again. It's going to bother you, but like
it's not going to bother me. I just don't know anything about it.
I know, right? It just bothers me. Like snake suma buying kachod. Why don't we ever discuss ask Pirchus that one's more chomer than the other, and then you have Rizeh, and then meaning
sometimes when do we? Sometimes we do.
Right. So like over here, we just decide snakes and kacha bein malamdin, and nobody, you can't learn anything else from it. But sometimes the Gemara will ask a pircha like, it's kachim, so kachim's more chamer, so therefore you can't learn anything out from that. And then like and you'd be able to, you could have a tzara shava.
100%. Akiva, did I ever tell you the rule with my father? Anytime I learned the Gemara, my father's that had drushes, no kashas. He said, these are drushes. There ain't no way we're going to understand why they darshan sometimes this way, that way. We go weiter. That's my Messiah. So that's what should I tell you? It's just very difficult to figure out what it is. But you're right. I hear.
Kiva, you could write the lost drushes of Shas. You could come out with a sefer.
Oh, yeah, maybe. It would be an interesting read if you can figure out when the Chachamim decided to do Loi Rizeh, Kerizeh, etc., etc. That would be something.
Right now, the pages are blank. They're still blank after all these Gemaras.
Okay, all right. You could write down the Ha'aras at least, and then you could work from there. Okay, so anyways, fine. So it's Shnei Ksuvim Aboin Kech. It's Rabanan Nami Navi Nazir V'Chat Shnei Ksuvim Aboin Kech Bein Melamdin. Right, so the Rabanan also would be two pesukim that are coming to say the same thing. You shouldn't learn out from them. Amri Hanu Mitzrach Tzrichi. No, you need them. There you go, Akiva, right? We do need, there's a specific reason why the Torah had to say these dinim in two different parashas, which we'll get to in a second. Rabbi Akiva might tzrichi, right? Rabbi Akiva, right? What's he going to say, right? Why they necessary? Bishlama, ikas of Rachman or Bachatos. If it would say it by chatas, loy gomer nazir, you can't learn out nazir from chatas. The chulin mikachim, loy gomerin, you can't learn out chulin. Nazir is chulin, right? You can't learn out chulin from kachim, because kachim is its own separate madrega. So okay, but let the Torah write it by nazir, and then you could learn out chatas from nazir. We are learning out all the Torah, like we said, tam ki'ikr from nazir, right? So there's no reason for it to be written by chatas. Just write it by nazir, and you don't need it by chatas. And this that the Torah wrote it by chatas anyways must be you can't learn out from both of them. It's exclusive to nazir and to chatas. Okay, so what are the Rabanan going to say to that? Rabanan amri lach mitzvah tzrichi. You need it. No, it does need. You need a specific pasuk by nazir, and you need a specific pasuk by chatas. Why? Chatas heter mitzdaraf le'Issur. By chatas, it's coming to tell you heter mitzdaraf le'Issur. And you can't learn out chulin from kachim. Mishras litin tam ki'ikr, and Mishras needs to tell you tam ki'ikr mikan atadon l'chol Torah kula, and from there you learn out to the whole Torah. So that's why the Torah had to write something by chatas, and the Torah had to write it by nazir. For Rabbi Kiva, yeah.
I mean, I don't like nausea in general. I just thought, to me, it's ridiculous. This guy who he has issues. So what do you have to make a whole thing in the Chumash about this guy who has issues? And why are we going to learn everything out from nausea? Who says there ever was a nausea? Maybe there was never a nausea. There's no chi.
And a chanami, but you still have to.
Nausea is weird. It's just weird nausea. Who asked him to become a nausea? It's weird.
I understand, but the Ma'aser of Torah talks about it.
We have enough.
It's weird, but they had a whole section in the basin mikdash about it.
Shimon was a nazir. We have enough things to do without being a nazir.
You have a nazir.
What?
Shimon was a nazir.
Shimon was a nazir.
The basin mikdash had a whole section for the naziris.
What?
Yeah.
The basin mikdash had a whole section for naziris.
So I didn't build a basin mikdash. It has nothing to do. You don't have what to do without being a nazir. You didn't have nothing else to do.
Nazir takes away from him what to do.
Yeah, but Lamai cigarette. Listen, we have Ben Styra Myra also, right? The Gemara says it was never.
Yeah,
we're not going. Oh no, we're not going there, right? Oh, forget about it.
The two questions answer each other. If it's so crazy and the Mustama didn't really ever happen, then the whole parsha is to learn from. That's why you learn the whole Torah.
But there's not enough to learn from either. If you didn't have Ben Styra Myra, Reb Chaim would start playing basketball in his free time.
No, you'd have from Ben Styra Myra.
He had all this extra time, Reb Chaim. If he'd have to learn Ben Styra Myra, he'd become a basketball champ. You pay him.
Ben Styra Myra, you have.
He'd play horse with
Michael
Jordan, Reb Chaim.
Ben Murray, you have a big example because if the parents are Michael him, then they know he's going to be a good guy. So everybody should learn from that. That he's not, they don't kill him as a Ben Murray.
Now you're already saying Bertlo. That's a good word.
Is coming into his educational section of his.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So, anyways, right. So Rabbi Kiva Tavai leheter mitzarf le'Issur. Rabbi Kiva says he needs both for heter mitzarf le'Issur. V'avalu shnei ksuin abayin kechad v'chol shnei ksuin abayin kechad ein melamdin. He says both of them are coming for heter mitzarf le'Issur and shnei ksuin abayin kechad ein melamdin. So basically, machlokes in Rabbi Kiva and the Rabanan is whether there's a need to have two separate pesukim for chatos and for nazir. Rabbi Kiva says there's no reason to have chatos. It could have had nazir, and there was no reason to say chatos. So since it says chatos, therefore we can't learn out the rest of the Torah. And the Rabanan say no, we need one to tell you heter mitzarf le'Issur, and one to tell you tam ke'ikr. Fine. So Amalei Rav Ashi Rav Kahana Elahad the Tanya Mikola Shayasam Gefen Ayayin Mechatzana Vadzag, that he can't, the nazir can't have anything from how do you call it, from the gefen. From gefen ayayin to wine, chatzanim is the skins, and the zag, seeds. The chatzanim is the seeds, and zag is the skin. Limit al Issur nazir shemitztar from zem zeh. That teaches you by Issur nazir that they combine with each other. Meaning, we said you have to have a kazayas. In order to be over on anything, you have to have a kazayas. So what happens if the nazir has a third of a kazayas of seeds, a third of a kazayas of grape juice, and a third of a kazayas of skins? So do they combine? So we learned out that it does. So Hashul Rekiva Issur v'heter mitzarfin Issur v'Issur v'bay. What do you need this pasuk for? Right, this pasuk's telling us that they combine. You don't need to have a kazayas of each one. So now, Rabbi Kiva, what do you need it for? Issur v'heter mitzarfin, right? If you have a cholent which has Issur in it, and you don't have to eat a kazayas of the Issur, you eat a kazayas of the Issur, half a kazayas of Issur, half a kazayas of heter. Right? Issur v'Issur mivay. Do I need to tell you Issur v'Issur? Avada Issur v'Issur is going to combine. So Amalei, Issur v'heter b'vas achas, a very interesting yisoid. Issur v'heter, in order to be over to combine a half a zayas of heter and a half of a zayas of Issur, you need to eat them at the same time. Let's say in a sandwich, you have to have treifa pastrami with the bread. They will combine, right? But Issur v'Issur, you can even be zachar zeh. You could eat half of a olive's worth of nevela, half an olive's worth of treifa, and those will combine. Obviously, if it's in the shir kedei achilas pras, right? Yeah. So fine. So lamaisa, how do we paskin? So Tosfos, it's interesting because there's a Tosfos without a dibur amaschil. It's not so common that you find that. The fourth Tosfos says b'shmaitzin mashma the tam kicker deraisa. That's in block letters. There's no words like that in our Gemara, right? That's Tosfos just saying from our Gemara because it's mashma. It's a pasuk from Mishras, right? It makes a big difference if tam kickers are deraisa, right? Because then you have to be much more machmer, right? If you drop a piece of cheese into a cholent and you pull out the cheese, do you still need 60 times more than the cheese? Right? Oh, no, Gershon doesn't like this example. He doesn't like it. Okay, give an example, Gershon. No?
Milk, and you take some of the milk out. The cheese is called b'fafeya.
You want to start with that? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, let's take we're going to take skim milk cheese. Okay? Skim, he's asking a different thing, that fats go through the whole thing. Okay, take a piece of chametz that drops into the cholent, and then you pull it out, yeah? Is that good? Fine. So now, do you need 60 times? You pulled out the piece, right? You have a roll, a challah roll falls into your cholent on Pesach. Okay? Then you pull it out. Or you get on Pesach, let's say before Pesach. On Pesach, it's a whole different story. Like we said, it's never bottle. You have a roll, falls into your cholent on Pesach. You pulled out the roll. You have the roll, it's totally intact. Do you need 60 times more than the roll in the cholent now? What do you mean? You took the roll out. Right? So tam ke'ikr tells you, no. The tam that came out of that roll is like the ikr, and the taste is still in the cholent. Therefore, you need 60 times more cholent than the volume of that roll. That's what tam ke'ikr tells you. Now, whether that's, we definitely hold of tam ke'ikr. The question is whether it's the Braysa or the Rabanan. Right? Fine. So that's
Yaakov, I don't understand. The Gemaras before, when we were discussing, eating, let's say kuta chabavli, that there had to be enough chametz in it that the Gemara never assumed that we needed to be mechadish that. Why all of a sudden, according to Rikiva, is the Gemara bothered by the fact that we have to be mitzvah to Issur, it needed to be eaten b'chdei achilas pras? The Gemara said over there when it came to Kutach Abal, it was a pasha thing that b'chdei achilas pras, it's going to be. We're going to say that it's you're going to be, if you ate a b'chdei achilas pras, it's enough chametz inside. We would say pasha you're every Issur.
Okay, so what are you saying? So
now all of a sudden, according to Rabbi Kiva, the Gemara has to say that this is going to be a chiddush, that such a thing is a chiddush, and we need a drasha for this. Until this point, the Gemara never assumed not that way when it came to the Gemara.
That's true. I think that's what Taisus is saying. Isn't that what Taisus is saying from our sugi? Is mashutz pasha the deraisa? No, isn't that?
No, after we have this drasha from the pasuk.
Yeah.
But I'm asking, the Gemara before never needed this to say that when it came to the other, in Yom, the Gemara assumed pasha that you could put them together if you eat all these different pieces of Issur together.
I hear.
Is it because they're the same? Those are different pieces of the same bread, and this is like different. What's the difference?
I don't think it is a difference.
Why did the Gemara assume before that it's pasha that you could put them, you could be mitzvah with them Issur when it comes to if you eat a b'chdei achilas pras? And that's bizarre, right? Kutach Abavli, we don't assume you're eating every single thing in the same exact mouthful.
Right, that's exactly what we said. Yeah. So I understand. Okay, I'm not sure what you're asking. You want to, maybe it's getting late, so you want to wait till after we discuss it?
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Fine. Okay, so let's see weiter, because Amud Beis has a lot of halacha l'maisa. Right. Anyway, so Zok the Mishnah. Yeah. So batik shebesidkei areva. So if you have dough that's stuck in the cracks of you have a bowl that you make your challah in. Right. So back then they didn't have like us. They didn't have amazing savings. Go buy yourself a new bowl and finish. Right. So you wanted to use the same bowl, but they had cracks in it, and it inevitably is going to have chametz in it. So batik shebesidkei areva. So the dough that's in the cracks of the bowl, im yesh kizayis b'makom echad chayiv levar. If there's kizayis of dough, of chametz in one place, then you have to get rid of it. You have to burn it up. And if not, then batal b'miyuta, then it's going to be batal in the miyut, and it's not a problem. Right? You can't try that nowadays, having something less, it's less than a kizayis of chametz in your bowl, in your mixing bowl, and try using it to make something in it on Pesach. Right? Okay, but v'chein linin hatumah, and the same thing with tumah, in makvid alav chaytzitz. If as the rule goes, we know with Tumah, if there's something that you're not interested in being there, and then you have to be matar the bowl, so then it's going to be a chatzitza, because really you would want to get rid of whatever it is that's there. Lamashal, if you're toiveling a kli in the mikveh, right, and you toiveled it with a sticker by mistake, right, common shaila. So the answer is if you didn't care that the sticker was there, like if it's a warning sticker and you want to keep it on there, or if it's like an expensive glass and it's a sticker, you want to show everybody what the brand name is, so then that's no problem. But if you're going to plan on taking off that sticker, then it's a chatzitz and you got to take it back to the mikveh. So the same thing here. If the dough is stuck on there, then it's going to be chatzitz. But if you want it to stay there, then it's considered like part of the bowl, and it would not be a chatzitz. Which the Gemara tomorrow's daf Hashem is going to discuss exactly what it's talking about. What are you saying?
This is true. This is true. Lagabi any chatzitza.
Yes,
I know we discussed this briefly, Gabi Shabbos. Even for women, when it comes to nida,
me'ikar adin, yeah. And also akiva natilas yadayim for bread, right? Like people, a common question: the Band-Aid on your finger, can you wash with it? So it depends why it's there. If it's there to actually heal, which it rarely is, then you can wash with it on. If it's there just to protect, then you really don't want it there, so you really should take it off, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
Nail polish in a woman going to the
ikar adin. If the woman's nail polish is on well and she wants it there, then ikar adin, she could go to the mikveh with it on. The Hashkenazim are machmer lechatchila to take it off, but ikar adin, it's okay. If a lady says she's not going to mikveh, if she obviously don't paskin from this, but if women insist that they have to, a more modern woman, whoever it is, and she has to go with the nail polish on, then we're going to be mad to her to go. I can't say in the middle of Borough Park they will, but but other places they would be matter to go.
Didn't you say once also that it has to be like on well?
Yes, if it's half worn off, then she doesn't want it there. Then you have to. That would be a scenario where we actually tell them to go get their nails done before going to the mikvah, to actually put on more polish than to take off. Yeah. Okay, so that's exactly what it's talking about here with this. So Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel Loishon, that's only if the chametz is in a part of the bowl that doesn't need strength. It doesn't need the dough there to strengthen it. But if it's in a makom that asuyin lechazik, then you're not mechuyev to burn it. Right? So now michlal. So what we can learn from that? The pachas mikazayis. If it's less than a kazayis, I feel the makom she'ein asuyin lechazik. Even if it's a place that you really don't need the dough, ein chayav levar. You're not mechuyev to burn it. That's one way of learning it. Ikud demasi la sefer, but some learn it on the sefer. Vim lav, and if not, batal b'miyutay. If it doesn't have a kizayis, it's batal. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Loishon al b'makom ha'asi lechazik. When is it when it's less than a kizayis that it's not a problem? That's only where it's there to strengthen the bowl. But if it's in a place that it's not, you're not going to be able to strengthen the bowl, chayav levar, then you are chayav. You would be chayav to burn it. Then what do you learn from that? Mechlal the kizayis. That's mashma that if it would be a kizayis, I feel b'makom ha'asi lechazik chayav levar. Even if it would be part of the bowl that needs to be strengthened to be chayav levar. So mamish two different versions of this Gemara that say the two opposite dinim. According to the first way, is this whole shaila in the Mishna is if it's in a place that it's chizik, right? But if it would be less than a kizayis, we don't care. It's going to be fine. And the second version is it's going on the Seifa is the opposite, that the whole shaila is less than a kizayis. If it's in a place that it's going to strengthen the bowl, then it's fine. If it's in a place that it's not strengthening the bowl, it's not fine. But bigger than a kizayis, no matter where it is in the bowl, it's a problem. All right, so those are the two versions, and mamish two different dinim. So let's see. The Gemara says Tani Kalishna Kama, Tani Kalishna Basra. We have a Braysa like the first lashon, and we have a Braysa like the second lashon. Tani Kalishna Kama, if you have dough that's in the cracks in the bowl, if it's in a place where it's meant to strengthen the bowl, it's not chaytzitz, right? It's not going to make a chatzitza when you put in the mikvah. Right, and you're not going to be over on chametz. And if it's a place that you're not going to be mechazik chaytzitz, it would be a chitzitza because you don't need it there for over, and it's going to be over on chametz because you don't want it there. But that's only if it's the size of kazayis. But if it's less than a kazayis, then if it's less than a kazayis, then we don't care. Even if it's in a place that it's not going to strengthen the bowl, it's not a chatzitza, and you're not over on chametz, right? But that's like the first lashon. Tani kalishna basra. We have the Braysa like the lishna basra. Batzek shebesid ge'arev. If you have dough in the cracks of a bowl, the makam also.
I mean, according to this Gemara, it's lechat chila. You could do
yeah.
So you can decorate a plate on by your seder with chametz on it.
If you need it, you need the chametz to keep the bowl intact, yes.
Oh, it's only in that kind of bowl. Oh, okay.
Correct. Fine. Yeah, it would only be in that type of bowl. You can't stamp decorate. Yeah. I wonder if we could tie into this because one of the shaylas, the kids sometimes make projects with macaronis. Right. Do they have to get rid of that before? They have to get rid of those before. Sometimes they spray paint them with the heter is to do that. I don't know, but they do it. Yeah. Okay. Whatever it is. So
it's almost like a plaster. It's like a plaster. You're losing it for like.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to see more about that on Amud base. It's Vatani Kalishna Vasra. But if you have dough that's in the cracks of a bowl, now we're on Amud base. If it's a place that's meant to strengthen it, there's no chatzitza. Meaning you could toivel it like that. And you're not over on chametz. Those two go hand in hand. Meaning, if it's not a chatzitza, then it's meaningless, and you're obviously not going to be over on it for Pesach. If it's in a part of the bowl that's not going to strengthen the bowl, chaytzitz va'over. It's chaytzitz and you're over. But that's all if it's less than a kazayis. The kazayis, But if it's a kezayis, afil b'makam ha'asi l'chazik chaytzit tzayver. But if it's a kezayis, then even if it's in a place that it's meant to strengthen the bowl, it's chaytzit v'ayver. Right. So we have two braysas. So obviously, what's going to be the question? Kashina adadi. Right. That's a stira. We have one braysa like one lashon, one braysa like another lashon, but they're saying opposites. Right. The first braysa is telling you that it can be bigger than a kezayis and not be a problem. Right. And the second braysa is telling you bigger than a kezayis is always a problem. So it's a stira. So Amar Rav Huna Sami kilsam kamei. Right. Almost Peretz's favorite teretz. Just erase the cooler one. Right, we go with the chumrah one, just erase it. Erase the braysa that doesn't make sense. Okay, and not that it doesn't make sense. We have to erase one of them, so erase the cooler one. Yeah. Rabbi Yosef Amar Tanoi Shaklis Me Alma. Have you taken a machlokes tanaim out of the world? I mean, you just decided that one of these braysas we just have to erase, right? Tanoi, it's a machlokes tanaim. The Tanya Pasha Ifsha, a bread that became bad, that decayed, chayiv levar, you mechuyev to burn it before Pesach. So what you could do is you could take this decayed bread and grind it up and use it as a starter, for bread. Use it as what do you call, like sa'ar. That's only if you're going to keep this decayed whatever, this bad bread, to eat it. But if you take a box of chametz and you decide to use it as a chair, then it's batla, right? You see, so it's batla. Yeah, this is okay. We'll get to this. We'll get to halacha l'maisa, and this is very important. This line of the Gemara is very important. Meaning in halacha l'maisa. Midamar of Shimon ben Elazar batla. This time Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says it's batla. Once you decide to make the chametz into a chair and you're no longer eating it, it becomes bottle from chametz. Michlal the Tanakama savar loy bottle. So it must be the Tanakama holds that it's not bottle. You see that they hold that any kazayis afal gav de mavatal, even though you mavatal because you plan on using it as a chair, loy bottle, it's not bottle. So you see that there is a machlokes tanoim, right? Because here too, when you mavatal the chametz in the bowl, right? You mavatal the chametz in the bowl, so that's it. It becomes bottle. So you see it's a machlokes tanoim. So fine. So Amar le'abaya taratz the kazayis. That answers up the stira by kazayis because we have one that says that you could be mavatal kazayis and one that says not. But pachas mi kazayis mi taratzta. But the braysa, that one braysa says less than a kazayis is a problem. The other one says it's not a problem. You haven't said a teretz for that one yet. That's also a stira. Ella. So the Gemara changes mind. Ella ha Reb Shimon ben Elazar. They're both Reb Shimon ben Elazar, right? Both braysas are of Shimon and Elazar, but like kasha haba makim lisha, haba mak ha shalayba makim lisha. So now we start differentiating where in the bowl this chametz is kept. The crack in the bowl, where is it? Because a bowl, usually when you use a bowl, you use the bottom part of the bowl. The top of the bowl is not really used, right? Obviously, depending on how much dough, but most of the time you're using the bottom of the bowl, not the top of the bowl. So then we're going to differentiate where in the bowl it is. Right? If it's in the shalai b'makam lisha, right, then it's not going to be so bad. Fine. So Amar Rav Ashi says loy tema shalai b'makam lisha agva da'agna. Don't say that the place where in bowl is shalai b'makam lisha literally means on the outside of the bowl, right? Ella afsifsa da'agna. It means on the lip of it. Meaning if you use a cup. He's saying, don't say that here on the outside is the part that you're not where. That's where the chametz could be, because that's not the part. That's here for sure. You're not using to knead the dough. No, he says no. It's over here on the lip of the thing. It's still that's considered also not part of the bowl that you put the dough. So the Gemara says pshita. That's pasha. No, who needs the dough all the way to the top usually? So he says the same as zimna da'atif. But sometimes it how you call it, overflows, umati lahasam, and it'll get there. Kamash malan, that we're not concerned with that. Most of the time, you're not getting it up to that level. Fine. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, halacha Rav Shimon ben Elazar, halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Elazar. That what? That when you take, when you have, yeah.
I'm sorry. When you leave dough, it does overflow. I mean, my wife makes challah. She tells me in the morning when you get up, go to the fridge and knock it down.
Yeah, it goes over the pot. It goes over the pan, over the bowl.
Oh, you're saying that happens a
When
lot?
it rises.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
always.
I hear.
We're talking about Pesach. If you leave a dough, there's something wrong with you.
Rabbi Aaron,
No, but I
that's your Friday morning punching bag.
Well, that's
I
because
would
I
say,
don't,
even if it
I don't
doesn't,
see you that often anymore. What should I do?
I would say, even if it doesn't overflow, it gets to the top probably. Gets close to the top.
Yeah.
No, it overflows.
It overflows.
No,
It
If you don't bang
always
it down.
overflows.
Yeah, I hear. Okay, so I don't know.
How are we
I don't
talking
know.
about challah dough on Pesach?
I don't think it's din in Challah. I don't think it's a din in Pesach. I mean, it is.
The
It's ultimately.
overflowing is a dough.
Yeah, but the point is that are you happy with this dough being there in that part of the bowl to strengthen the bowl? And for the whole year round, you're happy with it. Just Pesach, not, but the whole year you're happy with chametz being in that area of the bowl.
Yeah, otherwise
You're not.
Something's wrong. No, something's wrong with the recipe. If it doesn't go over that height, so something's wrong. Then the dough is not good.
I thought we're talking about kneading the dough. Who said we're talking about proofing the dough? We never said anything about leaving it to rise. The Gemara keeps talking about lisha. The Gemara never talks about letting it rise.
Isn't that what lisha is?
Because the Gemara is talking about Pesach. Gemara is talking about Pesach.
Right. So we're talking about kneading the dough.
This piece is not talking about Pesach.
We're talking about kneading the dough, not letting it proof. Even if we're talking about during the year, there's different parts of the process of making bread. Now we're talking about kneading the dough. We're not talking about letting it rise.
So you kneaded it and you put it in this bowl.
Yeah, you added that part into the Gemara. The Gemara is only talking about kneading it.
We're talking about the bowl.
The bowl that you knead the dough in, not that you.
Yeah, but Aaron, you're what? You leave it overnight.
Yeah.
But so you can't leave it overnight if it's Pesach.
No, we know that. That's what Gershon said. But now you're talking about not Pesach. If you're talking about Pesach, there's nothing that I'm not saying anything. Yeah, but Yaakov said the Gemara is establishing whether a person uses this part of the bowl. 350 days a year, you do use that part of the bowl. And this guy has only one bowl. It's not like us, we have 75 bowls.
Okay, that's not part of the Gemara.
I hear.
The Gemara never says anything about leaving the dough in the pot. The Gemara is talking about kneading the dough in this bowl. The Gemara never talks about leaving it and proofing it. It's a separate discussion.
Okay, but I don't know. But it's
we're adding words into the Gemara. The Gemara is
Elisha.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on over here. Aren't we talking about whether
you're in Cleveland?
You use this part of the bowl?
That's what you want to know.
The problem is that there's chametz in the crack of the bowl, right?
Right.
And now we're talking. Now we're saying that it depends on whether you use that part of the bowl on Pesach. If the food in the bowl touches the chametz, then you have an issue. If it doesn't, you don't have an issue.
No, that's not the way I understood it. I'm understanding it. It's whether you're happy with the chametz being there because that's where you want the bowl to be strengthened, as opposed to not that you wanted to love dafka for Pesach. You're happy that the chametz is there and you're mavatal it to the bowl because you want it there to be strengthened in the bowl. That's why I understand it. I could be wrong.
It becomes part of the bowl.
Yes.
Yeah. Depending on where on the bowl it is.
Where in the bowl, yeah. So he's saying on the top. So we're saying that the dough goes over. So it.
Yeah. Oh, let's go back to. We'll talk about it after because the Olam is getting late for the Olam the Olam that wants to track the elections in Georgia or whatever, or wants to go to sleep, whichever. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, halacha Reb Shimon ben Elazar. The halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar that you're allowed to take a box of whatever piece of challah, piece of chametz, and you can decide that in your head it's no longer edible, and you can use it as a chair, and then you're fine with it on Pesach. So Gemara says, "Eini v'amar Rav Yitzchak bar Ashi, Amar Rav imtoch paneo betit." If you smear the face of it with mud, batla, it's batal, which is mashma tach in loy tach loy. Only if you smear it with tit, with mud or whatever it is, or lye, whatever they call it, plaster. But if you don't, then it's not. And Rabbi Shimon Gamliel sounds like it's even if you don't do anything to it, it's no longer chametz. So man de masliha le masniha. So he said, "Oh, the one who learned this didn't learn this, because these are both Rav." So whichever, meaning it's two different members, b'shem Rav. Fine. Ikad Amri, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, Ein halacha Rav Shimon Lazar. The halacha is not like him. Amar Rav Yitzchak Bar Ashi, Amar Rav, Im Toch Panel B'Tit Batala. It has to be Toch Panel with Tit, then it's Batal. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. Okay, 1 second. So that's it. So now, Lamaisa, one thing is for sure. We paskin that if you take chametz and you smear the face of it with something, then it loses its chametz status, right? So from this we learn out this. I mean, from here is where we come out with, you have chametz with the shampoos and the medications and all that type of thing, where you take the chametz and you add all sorts of stuff to it, and then memela it becomes ice chametz. Right? Or if somebody has a chair that's made out of chametz and it gets smeared with something, even though theoretically deep down under there is chametz, and chametz is also bahana, it's not an issue, right? That's where all these shilas start from this Gemara right here. That once you mavatal it from chametz, and certainly if you smear something on it, then it becomes ois chametz. And some want to be medayik that it says just panel. Sounds like only the top, the sides don't necessarily need to have plaster on it, and it still would lose its status of chametz. Obviously, you can't eat it. Right? But you would to be nana from it. You would be able to be nana from it. Fine. Then the next. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel.
What do the machmirim do on beer chametz to say that you can't just spritz your chametz with lighter fluid or something?
Right, because then that's their issue with that is not that it's not ruining the chametz. You're just not getting the mitzvah of streifas chametz. You want to be able to burn it. You don't want to put on all this stuff. You want to get the mitzvah of actually burning the chametz as opposed to just spraying it up. Okay, so Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Shnei chatzoi zeisim. If you have 2 half zeisim, v'chut shel batzik b'neihem, and a string of dough in between them, meaning, so you have chametz over here, a half a zeis, and then you have another half a zeis here, and then it's like a barbell. It looks like a barbell, and it's connected with a little string of dough. Right? Ryan kol shilu yudnata lachut v'naitlin mechayev levar. If you would pull up the middle, and it would end up pulling both chatzi zeisim with it, then you're mechuyev to burn it because it's considered more than a kazayis. Even though really it's a half a zayis and half a zayis, which a half a zayis you're not mechuyev to burn. It's not a shear. But since if you pull up the little dough that's connecting them, then you're going to be chayev, right? V'im lav, and if not, then you're not mechuyev to be mevar because it's less than a kazayis. Amar Ula, loy amaron ela ba'areva. That's only if it's in a bowl. But if it's in a house, chayiv levar, you're mechuyev to be mevar. My timer, the zimin, the konishlu, because sometimes you're going to sweep, right? V'nafli gabe hadadi, and then they're all going to come together, and then you're going to combine to a kazayis. This is why, what we learn out from this is too much to our chagrin, is that what are we doing? Who's looking for bedikas chametz by night? Who's finding something bigger than a kazayis? Right? Although grad in my house we did. Okay, we did once find the chaos chata and imaskira. But what do you have to check for? They don't combine. Who cares? Let's say you have a few crumbs or a Cheerio or two. So what's the problem? The answer is no, because what's in a bias, it might all get swept together at some point in Pesach. Somebody might clean under the beds or under the thing, and then you end up with a couple of Cheerios and a couple of Cheerios, and then they may end up combining, and now you have bigger than a kazayas. So
maybe Negovasi, you hold the whole house is $1 amas.
It's sort of, it could be you're saying it could be it's something like that the whole house.
So maybe for Pesach, just put little garbage cans in each bedroom. Then you don't have that problem because they're not getting combined.
I hear.
But if you vacuum, except a lot of the shiksas take the garbages and walk around and combine it.
Or you vacuum, you put everything in the same vacuum bag.
Oh, very good, Uri, very good. You vacuum it and you don't clean out your vacuum or whatever it is. 100%. So that's really why it is that we're worried about. You could have a quarter of a kazayas in the attic and a quarter of a kazayas in the basement, and we look at it like they combine because we're afraid that they're going to combine. So that's a major makar right there for the bedikas chametz.
So one more reason not to vacuum.
No, what do you mean?
One more reason not to vacuum?
You're a doctor. Doctor, you don't vacuum, so don't. You're talking to peons over. The rest of the people are peons on this year, so we vacuum. Yeah.
On Pesach, before Pesach, you should vacuum, doctor. Yeah. So Amar Ula, Bomi Marava, they asked the Shalom Marava, Bayis Va'aliyah Mahu. What about a house and the upstairs? Bayis Va'achsadra Mahu. Right? The truth is, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. I went l'chumra with it, but really that's the Gemara's Shaila. The Gemara's original is just on one floor. Now the Gemara is asking a Bayis Va'aliyah, what's the din? Bayis Va'achsadra, a house and what do you call it? What do we call Achsadra again? From the Eruvin days. Portico. There you go. From a portico, right? And Shnei Batim Zelef Nimizeh. What happens if it's two apartments or two houses, one inside the other? So Teku, so it's a Teku, right? So that's, and obviously with a Teku on a Braysa, we are going to be machmer, right? Okay, fine. So Tana Rabanan Hapasha if Shavanifsal Milecha LaAdam Kelev, it's late already, but this is also major Gemara. A pas that became bad and it becomes usher to echol for a person to eat. Kelev yachol la'echle, but a dog could eat it. Metama tumas eichlin b'kebeitza. Metama tumas eichlin b'kebeitz. Meaning we learned that food cannot become tummy unless it's an egg's worth. So even though, so the Braysa is saying now, even though it's not edible to a person, since it's edible to a dog, it still can become tummy. But you're allowed to burn it with tummy on Pesach. Remember we said that you have Tumah, Tahara and Tumah, you can't burn together because you're going to make this thing that's tar into tummy. But this you're allowed to because it's not edible. Rav Nassan says it's not matama because it has to be edible to humans in order for something to become tummy. So Keman Ozlaha, the Tanan, Klal, Amru, Batiris, Kalam, Yuchud, Lechel, Adam, Laichel, Adam, Tummy, Achi Yofsam, Lechel, Kelev, and everything is tar if it's meant to be eaten by humans until it becomes possible for a Kelev. Command like Rav Nassan. That's not like Rav Nassan. Rav Nassan says as long as it's Rav Nassan says it's not tummy if it can be eaten by as long as it's not eaten by a human, it can't become tummy. So that Braysa is not like him, not like Rav Nassan. So Tana Rabanan, Arevas Havdanin. If you have an areva, a bowl from Avdanim, is the people that work with the leather. If they put wheat, flour, into this bowl, then you chayiv to be mevared. Before 3 days, you're not chayiv to be mevared. That's only if you didn't put the leather into the bowl. But if you put the leather into the bowl, even if it's within 3 days of Pesach, you're not mechuyev to get rid of it, right? Amar Rava, halacha Rav Nassan, the halacha is like Rav Nassan, afilu yom echad, even 1 day before, afilu sha'achas, and even 1 hour before Pesach, as long as you put in the skins before that, so then that's going to make the whole thing that it's not flour, it's not chametz, and then it's not a problem. So now, again, from this Gemara, we're learning out of the major halacha. By Pesach, chametz has to be nifsal me'achilas kelev, right? Not achilas adam. Everything else, and every other is in the Torah, once it becomes nifsal achilas adam, it's mutter to eat it, right? This comes up with medications and stuff like that. That's why all year round, you don't have books for which medications are kosher or not, because no dog is eating it, right? But no human is eating it. But for Pesach, we need it for the dog. Why? Because since you can, even if it's possible for a person will never eat it, but you can use this decayed chametz in order to make as a starter, to use it as leaven to make other doughs. So since you could still use it, therefore it needs to be nifsal me'achilas kelev. But it has to be nifsal me'achilas kelev before Pesach. If it becomes nifsal me'achilas kelev on Pesach, then it's a no-go. It has to be nifsal me'achilas kelev before. So then you get into the whole shaila is, if let's say the chametz itself is not pasul me'achilas kelev, the only reason why it became pasul me'achilas kelev is because they mixed in all sorts of chemicals. Is that really called nifsal me'achilas kelev or not? Because you could really go to the lab and separate it, and then it's not okay. That's all the whole tumah from here.
I'm always in the doghouse. So what's the shot there?
There you go. And there you go.
Is that a
Anyways,
Farakaway dog or a 5 pounds or back Lawrence?
That's a good. The doctor, the pesukim actually discussed that. They say that you can't bring rayas from the dogs nowadays because they're very spoiled. Right? Maybe the Israeli dogs, maybe, but not maybe the American dogs, not. Yeah. Anyways, all right. I'm sorry, I went a little late.
Oh yeah.
Fine. Okay. Good to know.
Thank you.
Shkoyach. Have a good evening.
Akiva, you there?
Thank you.
Where's Akiva? He left.
Yeah,
already?
I'm still here.
So what were you saying?
I'm trying to remember now. I'm going back. No, I was trying to ask. Like the Gemara seems to imply that that at the end of the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva is coming to. He learns out this din that Issur b'Zachar Zeh. That when that Issur and Issur are we could that the chiddush is that we could combine them even if you eat them one after another. Right. That's why the Torah had to teach us what's it called. That another nazir combines. The din of nazir when the din of the gabi nazir. But the Gemara assumed that you could combine kutach together with other kutach inside bread inside bread with other pieces of bread in a kutach. Before that, without this whole, I was assuming that's without this whole shtickle Torah. That as long as it could be chilas pras, you could combine the two. What's the chiddush now that bezachar zeh you could combine the two? Anything we always assumed the chilas pras you could combine the two. What's the chiddush? What are we being mechadish more now?
No, because Issur v'Issur.
Kutach was also Issur v'Issur.
Kutach. Why is Kutach Issur v'Issur? That's Issur v'Issur.
Pieces of no. There's different. No, but over there the Gemara assumes as long as you're eating enough of the chametz b'chtei chilas pras, of course you can be combined Issur v'Issur. The Gemara never had an issue that when it came to kutach, if you ate enough b'chtei chilas pras, the problem was that it's almost impossible to eat b'chtei chilas pras chametz because it's something you normally use as a dip. But if it was possible, b'mitzias, to eat enough bread, b'chtei chilas pras, and you're combining all these little different isurim together, you would be chayiv.
Right.
Is that Gemara only coming after what we're saying now? That's bezachar zeh, no?
I don't know. I understood it that it's a new, meaning it's a new Gemara. That's what you're saying. Why is this not based on the Gemara before?
Or was the Gemara only based on this then?
I mean, it doesn't it have to be a case Issur v'heter? You're saying that it's pashut that Issur v'heter?
Or unless you're saying it's totally in this din. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. What the whole Gemara before totally in this din?
Right.
See, his kasha is essentially why I learned the Gemara, the Kedei Chilas Pras by Kutaf differently. I thought the Gemara they was talking about in volume. The halacha is that a pras worth of Kutach has to have a kazayis of chametz in it. If it doesn't, then you don't have Kedei Chilas Pras. It's nothing to do with the time. That's just the volume, how much it has.
Right.
So if you say that, then he doesn't have. There's no problem with
it. But it still needs to be heter. It still has to be at the same time, not one after the other, right?
Yeah. What do you mean? What does the basachas mean? What does the zechazeh mean?
Zechazeh means you ate half a kazayas of this and half a kazayas of that.
When it means 2 mouthfuls or 2 different achilas?
2 different mouthfuls, let's say.
That's it. Then he has a kasha.
That's Issur and Issur.
That's his kasha. His kasha is...
No, but heter mitzaref le'Issur, heter mitzaref le'Issur is all together.
In 1 mouthful, it could be 2 mouthfuls. We don't care.
Right.
That's bebasachas. 2 mouthfuls is bebasachas. Zechazeh means you're eating 2 different things.
Right. I hear.
Issur means chaylev and dam. That's two different achilas. So Issur is mitzvah.
The other case of sheikhar, but you could ask the same thing by sheikhar also, right? Rashi seems to imply like people drink between the two, so you don't have enough time to finish them all together. But if you did, you'd have enough to be drinking enough chametz within those drinks. But it seems like it's a shot. You keep drinking more and more and more. Sheikhar, I'll say it better like this: Sheikhar is a chayre. You keep drinking and drinking and drinking. You're not drinking in one shot.
That's still the basachas, not bazachas.
No, Rashi says you have to be mafsik bein tayim, but drinking it one drink and then another drink. If you drink, Rashi says Beizvil Gimel Kaisis, and he's saying the issue is that you're being mafsik bein tayim enough that it's not b'chtei achilas pras. But it's not, the issue is not that you're drinking 2 or 3 different kaisis, which is not one go.
That it doesn't have. That's what I'm saying. The basachas doesn't mean one go. The basachas could be 2 or 3 kaisis.
Then that's bezachazeh.
No, bezachazeh means 2 different achilas. If I have 2 cups,
drinking 2 different cups is not bezachas.
Of course it is.
That's it's not. Then there's no bezachazeh ever.
Of course, yes, there is. If I eat a kazayas of chaylev, if I eat a kazayas of chaylev and then a kazayas of dam, that's bezachazeh.
And if you eat a half a kazayas, and if you eat a half a kazayas and half a kazayas, it's also bezachazeh.
Half a kazayas of what?
Of dam and a half a kazayas of what does that mean? If I drink 2 different cups, what the chametz on drinking is bezachazeh. I drink 2 different cups.
Cups of what?
Sheikhar. That's what Rashi talks about.
Then it's the basachas.
That's not the basachas.
Rashi's talking about Ketechilas Pras. Ketechilas Pras is a different halacha.
I understand that, but Rashi's talking about a case that's not b'vasachas.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm confused. I'm confused with this whole b'vasachas. I thought I had it, and then Gershon yesterday, when you were asking me the kash, I was like, "Oh, 1 second, maybe I learned it the wrong way." I don't know.
I think the basachas could be 2 gulps. It could be 50 gulps. It doesn't matter.
Rashi says it's 2 different
cases.
Why are you saying that?
That's what I'm telling you.
You're making up a chiddush here. Why should you assume that?
That's always what the basachas means throughout Shas.
Then eating one after another should be basachas. Make a tasty to say that.
One what after another?
1 piece of bread after another piece of bread. That's basachas also. Why can't I say that?
That is the basachas. As long as
then
there's
what's
no
bezachazeh?
Either there's a
what's bezachazeh? What's a hefsek?
I'm trying to say. Let me talk. Hold on. Either it means there's a hefsek between them, which is what Rashi says, or it means 2 different kinds of achila, 2 different things that you're eating. They're not connected.
Rashi doesn't say the issues because you're being masik, and that's bezachazeh. Rashi says if you're being masik and there's too much shihiyah that it's not b'chtei achilas pras. Rashi doesn't say because there's a sukkah that there's an issue on the amend aleph and aleph. Rashi never brought up that issue. Rashi is implying bezachazeh.
Okay. It makes it bezachazeh.
But the issue is not bezachazeh. The issue is b'chtei achilas pras.
Because that's what we're talking about. Any achila of b'chtei achilas pras needs to be babasaka.
That's not.
They work together.
That's not what Rashi's mashma at all.
Find me anywhere in Shas. Find me something where you have kedechilas pras bezachazeh.
The Gemara right here says it. The Gemara says Issur bezachazeh. As long as kedechilas pras is good enough. Obviously, there's a difference. It's not bevasachas.
Our Gemara is not talking about kedechilas pras. Of
course, it is.
No, it's irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant? Of course, it has to be a kedechilas pras. Issur bezachazeh, if it's not b'chtei achilas pras, it's not going to be. You're not even an Issur.
The term b'chtei achilas pras is not relevant to bezachazeh.
Of course, it is
relevant to the basachas.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One achila.
If you eat
2 achilas.
Exactly, but it still has to be b'chtei achilas pras.
It doesn't make any sense. The term b'chtei achilas pras is the etzem refers to volume. That in a pras of food
and it could be bezachazeh.
Hold on. in food, in cholent, let's say, right? If you have a pras of cholent, there has to be included in that pras a kazayas of whatever issue you're talking about. You can't have bazeh chazeh with cholent. You're eating cholent. You can have bazeh chazeh if you're eating cholent and chicken soup. Then you have bazeh chazeh.
I don't know where you're coming from to say that. It's not the way I learned at all. I don't know where you're making that up from. I promise don't know. The Gemara doesn't say anything like that.
The first base.
The Gemara says Issur v'Issur.
Okay, Akiva, hold on. Let me answer.
Okay, listen, I gotta go.
I also have to go.
I don't have shot.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's not Masha that's going about Rashi on Talib and Alf at all.
Have a look at the first base Yosef and Hilchos Taruvis. The big one.
Okay. I don't have time right now, but it's not Masha like that. It's from this Gemara or from Rashi before.
Okay. That's the Yaakov. Isn't that what the Beis Yosef says? He brings the Ramban. The din of the K'dei Achilas Pras is how much volume you have. Mamela comes out in time too.
You lost everybody, buddy.
All right, Pirates, have a good one.
I was almost going to mute him for you.
You muted yourself.
And I hang up on you there for a second. When you saw how you were saying it to me, I thought you were talking to Akiva. I just hit the leave, and then you think I remember the first base Yosef and Taruvis? Are you kidding me?
That's when he brings the dinner. Kazayas B'Chteichilas Pras is about volume, not time.
Right. I hear.
Mamela it comes out in time also, but the etzem, the term refers to volume. How much of Issur you have in it, how much heter.
Right.
That's the whole machlokes. 3 kazeis and 4 kazeis and kabeya.
Yeah. I hear. I don't have the head for this. Mamish. Yeah. Whatever.
All right, Yakati, I'm shutting it down.
Peace out.
In a minute. Give me the hard drive.
Thank you.
Also.